Good afternoon, everybody. This is Phil Livingston. I'm the CEO and owner of Precision Camera here in Austin, Texas. I want to thank you for joining us, one of our Facebook Live sessions. Today we're going to do a simple project, making collages, simple photo collages in Lightroom and Photoshop. And as some of you may know, I'm an amateur photographer. I'm not a professional photographer. I'm a hobbyist like many of you out there, and enjoy documenting life and street photography and landscape photography, and mainly shooting family photos and portraits and that kind of stuff. And you'll see that today, but I'm an avid Lightroom and Photoshop user, and I think those are great tools. Just so you know, you can get Lightroom and Photoshop from Adobe. We don't sell those products, but you get them right from Adobe. In the online version, they're $9.99 a month, and I highly recommend them. They're very affordable and incredibly powerful tools. A lot of people are intimidated by Photoshop, frankly, and there are incredible depth of tools, and it is a complicated program, but you really only need to learn kind of 20% of the program at the most to use Photoshop as a photographer and to help manage your content. And Lightroom is even easier. Lightroom is basically the version, it takes all the features of Photoshop and makes them available for photographers in a simple format. So what we're going to do today is we are going to open a new document in Photoshop, a blank document. We're going to take our edited pictures from Lightroom and we're going to bring them into Photoshop. We're going to resize them in Photoshop to make them fit into a collage. We're going to move them around in different layers. We'll learn about how to use layers. We're going to add some text, and we're going to create a nice background for our collage. So you can vision it. I wanted to show you some of my older collages. Here's one from, I think, 2012 from a trip to Portugal. This is the kind of thing I do, and this is just a simple, my favorite pictures of that trip. In many different sizes and portrait and landscape positioning. So this is what we end up with. You see that it's got a little background to it. It is sized to a frame size. And what I really recommend is that you pick a frame size, something like a 13 by 19, really a simple frame. This is one that we have here in the store. This is $25. This is really all you need for a collage that you can hang up or put in your kids' room, any of that kind of stuff. But what we end up with is a collage printed like this, and you can print it on really nice little simple inexpensive paper like Epson Ultra Premium matte paper is a terrific paper for collages. This happens to be on Hahnemühle German etching, but the Epson matte paper works just fine. And if you have what most photographers have, a printer at home that's capable of printing on 13 by 19 sheets of paper, that size works particularly well. And so but you want to start with your frame size and then take this collage, and I just cut it with a pair of scissors. I just cut it, and then if you've started with your frame size, you will fit it fine into the frame that you've selected for it. So let's start with, we're going to go into Lightroom. We'll start with Lightroom. And Casey, are you showing the screen now? Okay, you'll see here I'm in Photoshop right now, and you see that collage that we just did in Photoshop. Of course, I'm not showing the layers here. I need to see the layers. There we go. Then you get a real sense of how we're going to end up. So the first thing, we're in Lightroom, and basically I recommend that you do all your photo editing in Lightroom. And what I'm going to show you today is I spent the month of April in my house in Boulder with my son and his girlfriend Malin, and we were sheltering in place basically in Boulder, Colorado in April. And I've got a bunch of pictures here from that time in Boulder of Scott and Malin and of the scenery there. And we're going to use that just as a simple example of how to create a Photoshop collage. So this is, you'll start here, you edit your pictures, you get them the way you want to, and then in Photoshop, start by creating a new document. And you want to think about this as a blank sheet of paper for your collage. And on the blank sheet of paper, if you just imagine that you're going to put individual pictures, and you can make them all different sizes, and it takes a little, you use your creativity, you know, put them where you want, size them the way you want, mesh them together. We're going to add some text, and we're going to add a background color. But the first step is to create that, that blank page new document template. And for this collage, I'm going to do 12 by 16. So the width is 12 inches, the height, no, the width is 16 inches, the height is 12 inches. I like to always use, I'm going to print something, your printer's like 300 pixels per inch resolution. Use the RGB color mode. I like 16-bit depth for better colors when I print. And I usually almost always work in Adobe RGB for my color profile. So I've done that. So what I just did was I went into Photoshop. Up here I said File, New, and it brought up this dialog box to create a blank page, a new document that we can work with in Photoshop. I changed the settings. I created a size, 12 by 16. Now I'm going to create that blank. Now what I have is just a blank page, and I'm going to place my pictures for my collage on the blank page. And I do that very simply by going back to Lightroom. I right-click on the image that I want to place in Photoshop or in the collage. I say Edit In, from Lightroom I say Edit In Adobe Photoshop. Okay, and it's going to take that image, which I've edited in Lightroom in the develop mode, and it just opened it as its own file in Photoshop as a tab you see right at the top. And what I want to do is, so what's important here is that, so this file has come across, and I just opened the image size, and I'll show you how to do that simpler. Here under Image, there's Image Size, and that'll open that dialog box. Okay, and image size allows me to resize the various images. Another way to do that, flip back the photo, another way to do that is hit Control-Alt-I. There are many shortcuts in Photoshop and Lightroom that keyboard shortcuts that make things much simpler to do. So I basically am now going to resize this picture. Right now this picture is 25 inches wide and 17 inches high. That's too big for my collage, obviously. So I think I want this one about 5 inches wide, and you'll note that it automatically adjusted the height. It's kept it proportional. I want all of these to have the same resolution as my, my background. So I use 300 resolution, and then it's going to resample the image when it resizes. If you're going to go smaller, I always use bicubic sharper. If you're going to make it bigger, you use bicubic smoother. But in almost all these cases, we're going to make these images smaller. So we're going to use bicubic sharper. And so we've just resized that to about 3 by 5, essentially, is what we've done. And now, to start working it into our collage, we very simply grab, over here you see, these are the layers in each one of these images in Photoshop. And all you have to do is grab that layer. You don't want to grab this picture, it won't work from here. But if you grab the layer, move it up to the tab where your collage is, it opens that tab, and then I move the layer down onto that collage, and I'm going to tell it, don't show me this again. It just laid the layer from the original file into the collage. Pretty simple. Now here's the Move tool. I click on the Move tool. It's kind of the fundamental tool in Photoshop. And I'm going to start with this one up in this corner. Now, one thing I want to show you is, if you can see that, it might show up better on the next picture. Oh, see the red line? See that red line? It's telling me that's the middle of the frame of my picture. During this whole process, it's going to give me guides. Photoshop is giving me guides, and I'll use that to line pictures up. It's a very handy. You don't have to set anything. Like it's going to tell me if I wanted to put this right dead in the middle. It's going to tell me right there. Did you see that? Where both, right there is kind of dead in the middle. So anyways, I want this one up here. I want this right about here, okay? So I've placed my first picture, and then simply I go back to Photoshop. I say edit in Photoshop. I go back to Lightroom, and I say edit in Photoshop of the picture I want to open up. It brings it across. It's full size now. I want to resize it, so I go Control Alt I, and this one I think I'll make 3x5 as well. I'll make it 300, and it's all set. Okay, I grab the layer, I move it to the collage document, and then drop down onto the collage document, and it places the picture. I use the move tool to put the, and I'm going to cheat a little bit and look at my test run to see where I put these various pictures, so it kind of looks like I'm going to move it down here. See those guidelines? Right there it's telling me that this one is lined up perfectly with the one above. See, it knows what I'm trying to do basically. So I'm going to go down here. I'm going to leave a little buffer space here. I'm leaving a little border around the edges. But right here it's lined up with the one above. It's about the same size. All right, and right now I'm going to save this document just to make sure we don't lose something in this process. Call it Test Collage. So I've saved it, and then I'm going to go back to Lightroom. Once again, here's an image. It's this picture of Malin that I like. You can see that picture right there. And just a little quick refresher on Lightroom. Remember, Lightroom has the library module, the develop module, map, book, slideshow, print, and web. And right now we're basically using the library module to just move between and manage our different assets in Lightroom. So there's a picture of Malin. I want to include that. I right click on the image below. I say edit in Photoshop. It pulls it up. It's full size. I resize this one. I'm going to make this one a little smaller. I'm going to make the width of this one 4. .300 resolution. Okay, and now I have it opened, and I have it resized, and I just grab the layer and I move it to the collage down to about where I want it, and it drops it in there. And then I use the move tool to place it. I'm going to put it about there, maybe over a little bit more. The guides tell me where to place it. I'm going to drop in a couple more, and then we're going to show you how to make some text. Let's take here's a picture of Scott and I playing chess. Now, Scott's a pretty good chess player, but we played 4 times over the course of a month, and I beat him 3 times, and he beat me once. So he needs to work on his chess skills. But here we are, sheltering in place in Boulder, Colorado, playing chess. And so now I opened it in Lightroom. I'm going to resize it. I'm going to make this one smaller. I'm going to make this about 3 inches. 3 inches wide. I'm going to drag it into our collage. And I'm going to place it over here. It looks a little, that looks a little small. So I'm going to just give you an example. So over here on the side, you see the various the pictures, or every time I add a picture to the collage, it creates a layer. I don't like the way that was too small. So I'm just gonna click on, see, I can click on the different layers. I'm going to click on this layer and just delete it, and gone. Then I go back to my picture, and remember in Photoshop you can always go Control-Z, reverses what you last did. It eliminates your last step. So when you make a mistake, you hit Control-Z, and away you go. So this time I'm gonna size it, and this is something you do a lot. So I'm glad I showed you this. Is that you make mistakes and you change it, and it's pretty easy to fix. So I'm going to make it 4 inches instead of 3 inches, make it a little bigger. I'm going to go back here, I'm going to drag it into the collage again. I'm going to place it about where I want it. That's better, I like that better. It's telling me that that's kind of the bottom of the center of the picture. I'm trying to leave a little cushion over there. Let's add one more picture. I like this picture. I took this picture last week at the Flatirons. It's a kind of iconic picture. It's about the easiest picture in the world to take. It's well known. These are the Boulder Flatirons. This is Chautauqua Park in the foreground. So I'm going to make this one a little bigger. I'm going to make, because I want to make this kind of my center picture, so I'm going to make this about 7 inches wide, 300 as my resolution, and then I'm going to grab the layer, drag it to my collage, put it about in the center, use the pointer to move it. It's actually a little bit bigger than I wanted, but it fits. See the space in between, maybe making it a little smaller, maybe 6 inches would have been better. Okay. Now, so that's the process, and you use your creativity. You can see the blank areas where you need picture. I would put a smaller picture here. You'll see I have kind of a finished product of this. We'll see in a minute, but you use your creativity to put your pictures, place your pictures as you like them and size them the way you like them. And I'm going to save this just to take care of that. And then one of the key things is you don't want to, for a collage, it's nicer to have, you basically, you don't need a matte. You can paint essentially the background to whatever color you like. So now I'm going to click on the background. I'm going to go up here to edit, and I'm going to say fill, F-I-L-L, not P-H-I-L, but I'm going to say fill, and what it's going to do is it's going to change the color of the background basically. So I'm going to say I want to make I want to fill the whole document with the color. And what it did when I selected color in the contents box, it brought up a dialog box. Now, you see the little dropper? This is what I like to do, is take the little dropper and pick a color in the print that you can so that the background kind of matches the print. Let's just try it, So I picked that color that was in Malin's jacket, and it made the whole background a certain color. Now I can always hit Control-Z if I don't like it. And I can do the same thing again. Edit, fill, select it. I want to fill it with a specific color. If I wanted to make it black, I would do that. And there I have black. Black wouldn't be my favorite. Let's try edit. You see it again, fill, I get color, and the color dialog comes up, and I can use maybe I want a bit of green from the grass. See, I use the color, see the color dropper? I just clicked on whatever, I could click on this brown, I could click on this blue sky, I could click on the gray. The gray's not, a lot of times I use gray for or I could just move this dot too. So let's just do a light gray. That's pretty traditional. So there I have a light gray, okay? Say that's the background I want to use. Then the last thing I want to show you on this before I show you kind of a finished product is how to put a title on it. Over on the left side of Photoshop you have a set of tools, and the T is for the type tool. So you click on the type tool, and that gives you the horizontal type tool. Just so you know, all of these tools on the left, when you right click on a tool, it brings up many different versions of that tool. But for this purpose, we just want a horizontal, and all we do is click on a spot and type in a title. Okay, and once I have my title in, I hit the check box. This is pretty typical for tools. After you're done using that tool, you hit the check to show that you're done. Then you can go select another tool. You can move this. I didn't get it. Here we go. You could use the move tool to move this all around. Wanted to show you kind of one other thing that's kind of neat. You can go in, and in the type tool, they're all kind of different style changers. You could make it bold. I'd have to highlight it all to make it bold. Let's just go and make it bold. So now I have it all bold, but I can also transform it. I can kind of warp it. So say I want to make the title like that. I want to make it kind of warped. See that? Just kind of interesting what it does. So anyways, that you can get creative in your own ways with text. People love to play with text and fonts. There's so many fonts available in Photoshop. So that's the basic process. The process was we created a new document. We opened files from Lightroom into Photoshop. We resized them. We moved them around on the collage. We created a color for the background, and we added type to the collage. So here's what I created with some of those. And this is not one I spent a lot of time. I just did it in about an hour today. It doesn't take long to do. It depends on how picky you are as to what. But here's the finished product that I have, and I've printed it out actually in a couple sizes. But there's the finished product. And again, I would just cut it right at the edges, and I would put it in a frame, a simple frame, like I showed you. I would cut it right at the edges, and then and frame it and hang it in my room or some of the kids' rooms, wherever it was going to be. And you end up with here's a collage from my 50th birthday party, and we saw the Lisbon collage, but. That is the basic process, and I'm here anytime if you want to give us a call. The store is open. We're doing curbside deliveries and online. Always order. We have free within Austin. Most of the zip codes in Austin will do free delivery to you if you want that. So you can order online. You can come into the store. You can do curbside pickup, or we will deliver it right to your house. We are right now running a promotion on prints. I love to print, and our lab does a great job of fine art printing. And there's a promotion until May 22nd of 20% off all enlargements with the code FINEART20, FINEART20, all one string. And things are good here. We have about 250 customers a day coming in. We have safety officers on duty. Everybody out in the store is wearing a mask. My mask is right off to the side, but we're all wearing masks and cleaning very carefully. And but we hope you're you're safe and doing well out there. And we hope you'll enjoy photography. It's the greatest hobby in the world. And we hope you'll come see us soon. So thank you very much and have a great day.